Hey folks, I have a brand new machine. As you can tell, it's a ThinkPad. What this is a replacement for the ASUS K55N that I sold. It has similar specs, but well, we'll take a look at it. But yeah, brand new machine. So let's tear into it. It's another ThinkPad X series, like the X201 was, but this one's a little bit different. Let me open this box here. So this ThinkPad is a ThinkPad X140e, and the E stands for education. This is actually an education model of a ThinkPad. I decided to buy this to replace the K55N for size. Actually, I wanted a smaller laptop that still had similar power, and this seemed to fit the bill. This is a tiny power adapter. 65 watt, 20 volt power adapter. And of course, down here we have the power cord. And look at that battery, isn't that cute? Little lithium ion battery there. And of course the laptop itself is down here, which I'll drag out. And of course we have the laptop and the manuals. What is kind of cool actually is that it came with recovery media, like physical recovery media. That's pretty nice. I have a USB DVD drive I can use with this machine, so this will come in handy if I ever wanted to recover any software. The recovery media is for Windows 8 Pro. So yeah, I guess that's nice. Although that's not what I'm going to be using on this machine. I'm going to be using Windows 7, but hey, it's still nice to have the recovery media. That's convenient. I like this better than a recovery partition because I tend to wipe hard drives a lot when I reinstall. So you know, would be nice to just have the DVDs with every computer. Luckily, it says here on the side of the box that it comes pre-installed with Windows 7. So they do still make new machines with Windows 7, thankfully, and this is one of them. So let's take a look at it. And here is the laptop itself. Looks like up here you have a wireless light. I guess that's for when you're connected or something. I'll find out later. But this is a nice laptop. Very nice. It has a Windows 8 Pro thing on the bottom, so maybe it comes pre-installed with a different Windows 7 key. I might have to use my own Windows 7 key for this one. Not sure yet. That key might be underneath the door here. I'll have to look. Yeah, this is the ThinkPad X140e. It's an education model. Around the sides here, it has a rubber bumper. Very nice rubber bumper. So it actually bounces a little bit on that. And I noticed that even though this is brand new, it has a little bit of a ding right there. So I didn't get to initiate the first one. They did it for me. But that's really not a big deal because that's on the rubber, not on the actual metal. Oh, the hinge is a little tight because it's new. And here's the laptop itself. Look at that. It's a little 11.6-inch screen, so it's basically a 12-inch notebook. And there you go. The X140e. And as you can see down here, it's the Lenovo EDU series, so it's designed for the education market. So, there you go. It is a nice, slick-looking computer. It's very much like the X201 that I have. It has the trackpad and the track point. Although the trackpad's a little bit different. It's small, but the buttons are integrated into the trackpad itself. I'm surprised this doesn't have an AMD sticker anywhere on it, because what this does have is an AMD APU in it. Now, the X140e is designed for the education market, so it uses AMD APUs. Some models of this have E1s, some of them have A4 APUs. This particular one I got has the A4-5000 in it, which has Radeon HD 8330 graphics, I think, and which, you know, it's not the best, but for this size of laptop, it's excellent. I really think it's going to serve me very, very well, just like the K55N did, only this will be much better build quality than the K55N ever was. That's another main reason for getting it, so let's take a tour of the machine. Alright, on the left you have VGA, CPU fan vent, 2 USB 3 ports, Ethernet, headphones, looks like a, yeah, actually I think it has support for a headset as well, if you have the 3 connectors on your headphones. On the other side you have an SD card slot, HDMI, which is nice to see on a ThinkPad this tiny. Powered USB 2, I guess. I think all these new laptops need to have a USB 2 port on them at least. And the power input Kensington lock. And of course, in the back is where you would put your battery. I don't see. Oh, there's an artifact for a SIM slot. It looks like, but that's not installed on this model because I don't use it, and because I guess they just weren't putting it on here. But you can order these with a SIM slot, so that's kind of cool. I think someone asked me about that. So there you go. Let's open up the bottom panel and see how accessible getting into everything in here is. And this is what you get access to when you take the bottom panel off. I did not find a COA under here, so I'm probably going to have to boot this computer up and snag the key out of whatever installs on there and just use that with my own OEM disk. But anyway, this is what you get when you take that bottom panel off. Access to everything, and that is fantastic. There's the hard drive, there's the wireless card. I don't know what's under here. My guess is maybe a Bluetooth module or something like that. RAM sticks, and what I like to see is that this came with 4 gigs of RAM, and it only has one 4 gig stick. So all I have to do is get a second one to upgrade this to 8 gigs, and that should be easily doable within the next few months or so. And of course there's the CPU fan that's over top of the APU. So that's really cool. You get access to a lot of stuff just from taking off one panel. That's one thing I love about these newer laptops. So that's cool to see. Definitely cool to see. So what I'm going to do with this laptop is put the cover back on. I'm going to boot up a program that lets me get the key out of the Windows install so that I can use that on this machine. I'll have to write it down somewhere. One thing I forgot to mention is this also has a matte screen, which is really nice because I prefer those over glossy screens. Because if you sit in a room that's facing a sunny window, like I have with other computers that I've had with glossy screens, sometimes you just can't see what on earth you're doing. So that's a good thing in my opinion. So I have the laptop here, I have it plugged in, got my mouse plugged in as well, my little Logitech mouse. And what I'm going to do is boot it off the stock hard drive. One thing I do have to complain about is there's no Harddrive Indicator LED, which kind of bothers me, but it's really not a huge deal. Well, I went through all the setup crap, and it looks like there is a recovery partition. So what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to grab the key out of this anyway, and then try to clone the drive. And if cloning the drive doesn't work, I'll just install Windows from scratch without any of the Lenovo crap. And just do everything by itself like that. We'll see what happens. Hopefully I can just clone the drive and that'd be that. That'd be really nice, actually. So we'll see what happens. So I took the hard drive out of the laptop in order to clone it, and I'm surprised. They give you a pretty good hard drive in here. 7200 RPM, SATA 6 gig drive. Very nice. Well, I've discovered a bit of a problem with this laptop. I can't put the hybrid drive in it because it's too fat. There's a reason that these Hitachi drives are so thin. Not only are they single platter, but they fit in low profile applications like this, whereas a big drive that's this thick does not. So that sucks. I'm going to have to use the 500 gig drive because the biggest drive I have that's this thin. I guess what will happen eventually is I'll upgrade this to SSD or something, since SSDs are definitely thin enough to fit into these laptops. So yeah, that's a shame, but you know what? Whatever. I'm fine with that. It's a good thing this is a fast hard drive stock, 7200 RPM, SATA 6 gig drive, so I'm not too worried about that. I mean, maybe bigger drives will get thinner eventually, or maybe I'll get an SSD to replace this at some point. I'm not sure yet. Well, I don't know. For now, this hard drive should do fine. I mean, it really should. So I'm not going to sweat not being able to put the hybrid drive in there. I'll use the hybrid drive for something else and just keep the stock drive in there. I'm okay with that because this one actually fits. Get it down in there. There you go. That one actually fits. So I'm just going to leave the stock hard drive in here and just use that since it works. I mean, there's no point in changing that out unless I can get a greater capacity or get an SSD. You know, it really depends. 512 gig SSDs are still like $400, so that price has to come down quite a bit before I even consider one. So I'm sure I'll be using that stock hard drive for a while. One thing I also did is I ordered another stick of RAM for this thing, so soon this will be upgraded to 8 gigabytes of RAM. I'm not going to bother making a video about that because upgrading RAM is boring, but I thought I'd just let y'all know that I've ordered the RAM that will go in there, and that will be installed at some point in the future. Oh, and I don't know if I showed this before, but it looks like this is the speaker grill on the bottom. Speakers do sound pretty good on this machine from what I can tell from the Windows sounds, so we'll have to give those a good test later. One thing I can say from typing on this keyboard, it's not quite the same as an old ThinkPad keyboard, but it still feels great. It's not like it's a step back. It's just a little bit different. At least that's my opinion. I also noticed that the power LED is on the eye of the ThinkPad here. That's kind of cool. Alright, fast forward a couple days and that was a complete pain in the ass. This laptop I just went through a bunch of reinstalls with, all because the BIOS was acting really stupid. Wireless and Bluetooth just disabled themselves for no reason, and I thought because I disabled them in a Windows install, it just kind of screwed it up. So I reinstalled a bunch of times to see if I could figure it out and see if it was a driver problem. Turns out all I had to do was reset the BIOS. That's really stupid. So I had some BIOS issues, so I think I'm going to update this BIOS at some point, assuming there isn't an update already out. The other issue I had is that Firefox refused to work off of the factory image and off of an OEM Service Pack 1 Windows 7 CD that I used. But I installed Windows 8 off of the recovery media and it worked fine. So I thought, Windows is being a jerk. So then I tried my Windows 7 Service Pack 0 CD and manually updated to Service Pack 1, and then Firefox worked fine. So it only happened on this machine too. That was very strange. I don't know why that happened. But I got it all working now, and I've decided the upgrade path for this machine too. I had that problem where the hard drive, or the hybrid drive, was too small to fit in this machine. Well, what I've decided to do is eventually I'm just going to get a 1 terabyte SSD for this. Once they come down in price, so that might be a couple years from now, or something like that. I don't know how fast the prices are dropping, but you know, as soon as they're like $200, I can grab one. Because there's no real point in getting a 512 gig SSD because it'll be the same capacity. It won't really be an upgrade. So I'll wait until a 1 terabyte SSD is affordable, and I'll stick it in this machine eventually. But for now, the 500 gig drive is going to stay. So I have a bunch of stuff installed on here. Now let's take a look at Windows here. There you go. AMD A4-5000, 1.5 gigahertz. That 1.5 gigahertz is deceptive though, because this machine does run pretty snappy. Has 4 gigs of RAM in it right now. Eventually it will have 8 gigs, which will improve not only graphics performance, but also the snappiness of the machine. Once it has dual channel, that will improve a lot in terms of what this machine can do. It has a Broadcom wireless card, which is very nice. It also has a Broadcom Bluetooth chipset, which is very nice. I really like that so far. This laptop has really nice chipsets in it for its wireless stuff. One imperfection I noticed is that this part of the keyboard, it's a little bit OCD of me, but this part of the keyboard kind of sticks up a little bit too much. Doesn't lie perfectly flat. I don't think that's going to be a big deal in the long run, but I just notice it and it bothers me. But it's really not worth sending it back for just a keyboard when you know, you can just buy another keyboard anyway, and this keyboard still works, so I don't see the point in replacing that. But hey, I got everything working. Alright, now there's a question I know everybody's going to be asking when they watch this video, and that is, how is gaming performance on this thing? Now what I did is I waited about a day, and I waited for the RAM I ordered to come in. So this machine now has 8 gigabytes of RAM, and why that's important is because on a machine with an APU like this one, see that has a AMD A4-5000, having dual channel memory makes the graphics performance better, and also having more memory does too. But in particular, dual channel really helps because the speed of the memory in your computer depends on the performance, or it affects the performance basically on an APU because it uses shared memory with your system. So just bear that in mind. If you buy the system stock with 4 gigs of RAM or something, and it only has one stick in there, it's going to suffer a little bit. It smoothed things out when I put the second stick of RAM in here. So there you have it. It also improved the Windows Experience Index a little bit. RAM is now at 6.4. So there you have it. So we're going to use a few games to test performance. The first one that I'm going to use is War Thunder, just so you can get a baseline. War Thunder pushes the graphics card a little bit hard on this machine, so you'll see what it being semi-bogged down looks like. Okay, now what I've done with War Thunder is I put the graphics on the absolute minimum to make it run reasonably well on this machine. I don't know if there's any special stuff I can do here. Old video card support. Yeah. Now keep in mind, this is a Radeon HD 8330 and this AMD A4 APU in this machine. This particular computer was not designed with gaming in mind. However, it will run some games. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at this. I wouldn't buy this laptop to do heavy gaming on it by any means. Light gaming, sure, but if you expect any kind of real performance, you're dreaming. However, if you turn your graphics settings down on many games, it'll make it better. Like when I look around at this plane on here, you can see they put the frame rate up here. I'm getting about 30 frames a second, basically. Let me move the plane around, and yeah, the average frame rate is about 30. And it seems to do alright. I mean, it looks pretty good. Nice and smooth. On a laptop like this, I wouldn't expect graphics to look amazing because you have to turn them down to make the play smooth. Let me move to tanks here. Move to tank. Go away. Tank battles, please. Okay, here's a tank. Now let me go into a game here, and yeah, an arcade battle with a tank, and then we'll see how it... I'm just going to drive around like an idiot, and we'll see how well it runs with graphics on complete minimum. Okay, here we are. To battle! To battle! The frame rate's actually... wow. Okay, wow, the tanks... when you put this on minimum graphics, it actually plays really well. Look at that. Look at that. It drives very smoothly. I'm getting an average frame rate of 30 frames still. So the menu actually is a good indication of what the frame rate will be in game. Yeah, very smooth. Very, very smooth. So, boom! Yeah, War Thunder is a go on this machine as long as you turn the graphic settings down to complete crap. It'll play just fine. If this thing can run War Thunder just fine, it will more than likely run World of Tanks just fine as well. I'm just gonna go by that. I haven't tried World of Tanks yet, but judging by the fact that War Thunder is more graphically intensive and runs just fine on minimum settings, I'm sure World of Tanks will be completely fine. So let's test some other games. I'm going to show you one that actually bogs down the graphics on this to show you what that looks like. Yes, believe it or not, Goat Simulator actually bogs down this machine. And I've set all the graphics onto complete garbage to make it run. It doesn't really run any better with all the graphics set to garbage. I'll go to Advanced and I'll show you. Literally everything, all this crap is turned off. Everything is set on fast. Yeah. This game does not run all that well on this computer, but I'll walk around as the goat for a little bit. just to show you. I mean, it plays, but it's choppy. It's not that bad. It's just a little bit choppy. So it's weird. This game, sometimes it runs pretty smoothly for what it is, and then other times it's just extremely choppy. Like, let me see if I can get to the gas station here. When I get blown up in the gas station, it'll do something a little bit choppy, I think. Let me try this. Alright. Doing this with one hand is a little bit difficult. Yeah, see, there it goes very choppy. Yeah, that's where it gets choppy. Walking around's not that bad, but when you actually are causing mayhem and things like that, it gets extremely choppy. So this is definitely not a game I'll be playing on here, but that's just an example. I can't believe Goat Simulator actually bogs this machine down. I just find that hilarious. But yeah, it's one of those games that bogs it down. That's just an example of one of those. Other games I tried that I'll just save you the trouble with. Fear I tried, and when you turn the graphics on low, or actually turn them on medium, it plays just fine. Any higher than that with advanced stuff, it can bog it down slightly, but not enough to really interrupt gameplay that much. Skyrim, if you turn the graphics all the way down, it's smooth. But I noticed an input lag with this particular game on this machine. I don't know if that's because it's Skyrim or because of this machine. I think that might be a CPU limitation on this machine. Old games like this run completely fine. Counter-Strike Source was smooth. Global Offensive was smooth. Of course, Counter-Strike 1.6 is going to be smooth. Call of Duty 2 was just fine because it's an older game, like the other ones. Anti-Chamber, which is from 2011, actually plays, and that's also an Unreal Engine game. It runs pretty well as well. Team Fortress 2 runs just fine. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD I tried. It's a little bit choppy, but it's playable. UT 2004 is completely fine. Yeah, most of the games that I tried work completely fine on this machine. Minecraft is perfectly fine. I'll show that just so that people can see it. Just because I know a lot of people will want at least that on a machine like this, probably. Okay, so here we have Minecraft, which runs just fine on this machine. A good example, actually, is it seems like when there's a lot of water around, it gets choppy. But I won't go in that server because I have to teleport somewhere else. So I'll just make a world, make it creative, just create it. It's going to lag a little bit more in single player just because I think it has to access the hard drive and use some CPU to generate the world. But more or less, it's smooth. Last time I tried it, it was quite smooth. So I'll let this build and then we'll show you how it goes. See what I mean? It's a little bit slow to generate, and that's going to bog it down slightly at first, so it'll be choppy as it generates the world. But when the world is loaded, or you're on a server, it's much smoother than that. So let me get inventory. Yay, inventory. See, it's quite smooth otherwise when it's not trying to generate the world. Yeah, it's generating it back there. But yeah, it's very smooth. What's the frame rate? It's like, yeah, it's around 25, 30 frames a second. Yeah, it runs just fine. Yeah, Minecraft works on here just fine, reasonably well, and that's with the graphics settings on fast, smooth lighting on minimum. I don't even have the settings down to just completely crap. I just have them sort of decreased and minimized and things like that. So Minecraft runs just fine on this machine. I also tried a Second Life client on here to see how that runs, and it seems to do reasonably well. When you're in a crowded area, it's a little bit choppy, but that's to be expected on a machine like this. It's good enough to walk around and hang out with friends and play board games and all the stuff you do on Second Life. So that's just an example of how games run on this machine, and they run pretty okay. I mean, I wouldn't expect a whole lot out of this machine in terms of 3D performance, but that's not even why I bought this machine anyway. All I really need this thing to do, primarily, as far as 3D stuff goes, is at least run Second Life, and it runs Second Life just fine, so I'm happy enough with that. And it runs Minecraft perfectly fine, so, you know, it's good enough for basic stuff. But most of the gaming on this machine will probably be older, emulated stuff anyway, so it's not like I'm going to be taxing the machine all that much. And of course older shooters like Counter-Strike and Half-Life 2, and you know, like even if I even play that, I mean, I doubt that's going to get played. It's mostly going to be Second Life client, and that's really it as far as 3D stuff goes. So what do I think of this laptop so far? I like it a lot. I'm new to the education models of ThinkPads. I love how rugged the lid is with this rubber bumper. Oh, I forgot to mention it has a wireless light on the top as well, and it also has another power light in the eye on the ThinkPad on the top of the machine as well as on the bottom there. So that's kind of cool. But anyway, yeah, I really like this rubber bumper. That is awesome, and it really makes the machine just feel rugged to me. I like this rubber. I don't know why, but I really like it. The top of the casing is metal, and I really like that. This trackpad has an interesting texture to it, which I actually like. I don't like the I don't like non-textured trackpads. This actually feels pretty nice. But I won't be using that at all. I'll be using the track point instead, which is very nice on this machine as well. Now, what do I think of the keyboard? Since it's a newer style island keyboard. Now, from what I was told, it was supposed to feel similar to the older ThinkPads like the T61, the X201. Not as much as I thought it would. It's still a great laptop keyboard, but it's not quite as tactile as the old ones were. It's still tactile, just not quite as much. You don't really feel as much of a bump. It's more subtle. But it's still there. I mean, it's still a great keyboard. It's just a different keyboard than one would be used to on ThinkPads. I'd still give the keyboard a good rating. It doesn't feel cheap or terrible anyway. The one on the ASUS K55N did feel pretty cheap, but the one on this one actually feels much more solid, and I'm happy enough with that. Battery life I can't comment on because I haven't really used the battery yet, but otherwise this laptop is fantastic. And in this particular X series, I really like it. So this was definitely worth the $540 I paid for it. I'll be using this laptop for many years to come. I like having a business class laptop as a main laptop more than I ever did having that K55N consumer grade laptop. This one doesn't feel like you can bend it in half like a lot of consumer grade laptops do, which is really nice. I really like this. So definitely a bravo to Lenovo on this particular laptop. It's very nice. So I give this laptop a thumbs up. I'd give it, as far as an overall rating, probably around an 8 out of 10. You know, somewhere around there if you really want that kind of a number value attached to it. But it's a pretty good laptop. And keep in mind that I treat my laptops as secondary machines. So this machine is not meant to do anything intense, which is why I could handle downgrading specs slightly to get a smaller machine within the budget that I wanted to be in. And this laptop is perfect. It's durable. It's really nice. It runs the stuff I need it to run. It's great. So there you have it, guys. It's a great laptop if you're looking to get one for school or for light gaming and productivity. It's a fantastic laptop. All around, this one's a winner. I would suggest getting the one with the AMD A4 in it over the E1 because the A4 is just a much better APU and won't be slow as a dog compared to an E1. So, you know, there you have it. Yeah, overall a great laptop. The only thing I can really complain about is the screen. It's a regular TN panel, which is fine, but the viewing angles could be slightly better than they are. That's about the only real complaint I have about this laptop. So, you know, there you have it. The Lenovo Thinkpad X140e. I like it. There's my review. I like it. So, there you have it, folks. There it is. Hope you enjoyed the video, and have a good one, everybody. Ciao.